Welcome to the debate. Today we are looking at one of the most persistent and frankly unsettling images from medical history, the 17th century plague doctor's uniform. It was designed by Charles Delorme back in 1619.
And it really raises a profound question. Should we celebrate this design as, the successful birth of modern personal protective equipment, a real feat of engineering? Or was its efficacy just an accidental outcome of a fundamentally flawed medical theory?
Exactly. I maintain that the suit was a highly functional, systematic design and really the true precursor to modern hazmat systems.
And I'll be arguing that while its success is interesting, it was largely coincidental. The whole system was based on the erroneous miasma theory, which for me limits its standing as a genuine scientific innovation.
Well, let's start there. The design was structurally advanced for its time. Delorme used waxed Moroccan leather to create a fully impermeable coat. Now, this didn't just provide a barrier against, say, fluids. Critically, the slick surface deterred the primary vector for bubonic plague, the infected flea. You add to that the protective glass goggles, the careful sealing at the neck, wrists, and ankles, you have a systematic, fully enclosed suit. It structurally anticipates modern isolation concepts.
That's an interesting point about the barrier. I see that. But let's circle back to what I see as the central flaw in the engineering rationale. The entire purpose of the suit was to fight bad smells, the miasma, which they believed caused the disease. That famous long bird-like beak wasn't a filter. It was, for all intents and purposes, an elaborate perfume diffuser. It was packed with strong aromatics and something called theriac, a really complicated compound with dozens of ingredients. The goal was to chemically neutralize bad air, not filter actual pathogens. That intent alone, I think, undercuts any claim to it being genuine scientific PPE.
I see why you think that, but let me offer a different perspective. Even if the reason for wearing it was wrong, the functional result was right. The material science, using impermeable wax leather, created physical barriers against droplets for pneumonic plague, and, as you concede, it created a surface hostile to fleas. The suit worked in spite of miasma theory. And furthermore, you have to consider the long wooden cane. That served as an instrument for non-contact examination, a clear, deliberate, early form of social distancing, right there in the plague wards.
That's a compelling argument, but was it really that deliberate? I mean, was the impermeability a choice for biological vector control? Or was it just the best material they had for waterproofing and holding all those precious scents inside the beak? And the cane was likely just, simple avoidance, not a structured medical protocol. More importantly, let's look at the critical design failure here. The suit had breathing holes or nostrils in the beak. If this were truly designed for respiratory protection, those openings, meant only to allow air past the herbs, would provide zero filtration against airborne aerosols.
But we have to acknowledge that in the 17th century, the very concept of a fully isolated, contained system was revolutionary. It was, perhaps, a right action taken for a wrong reason. The success is in the comprehensive approach to physical protection. We shouldn't diminish that structural success just because Delorme lacked germ theory. I mean, the act of designing a sealed system for entry into a toxic environment, that defines the functional ancestry of hazmat gear.
I'm just not convinced, because the conceptual framework relied so heavily on non-scientific elements. The complexity of the suit, it really transcends pure engineering. Some surviving accounts mention the use of red glass lenses in the goggles. Now, while they were protective, that color choice often tied back to superstitious beliefs, like warding off the evil eye. So you have this blending of theriac, myth, and flawed science. It means we have to be very precise about what we call scientific innovation.
To conclude my point, while the Delorme's suit was conceptually rooted in miasma theory, it successfully achieved critical protection goals through physical engineering, impermeable materials, and systematic isolation. For me, it was a functional design for survival, and thus the true ancestor of modern protective gear.
And from my perspective, understanding its true historical context requires acknowledging that the practical successes were, happy accidents derived from flawed premises. It remains a powerful cultural symbol, absolutely, but we must classify its limited efficacy as empirical luck rather than reasoned scientific design. I think both perspectives are essential to fully appreciate its complex legacy.